What is going on, my friends? Ryan Williams here, back with another one. And I'll tell you what, almost every day when I'm driving around town, I see these green waste management trucks. I mean, these guys are everywhere. They are out there picking up trash, collecting garbage all day, every day, and they just don't stop. I mean, look at this guy. He's really going after it. Anyway, yesterday I saw one again and I asked myself, why have I not considered investing in this company? And the truth is, I've just never really looked in depth into WM, which brings me to the topic of today's video. We are going to be analyzing WM stock, and we'll be taking a look at this company's share price performance and its valuation, as well as some financial metrics and the company's dividend stats to try and determine if WM is a dividend stock worth considering as a long-term investment. So that's what we have coming up first, and then later on in this video, we'll be getting into a little Q&A where I'll be answering some of your questions, like whether or not you should invest in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and how many stocks you should aim to have when you are just getting started with dividend stock investing. Anyway, before we get rocking and rolling, if you guys are stoked to talk some trash today, then go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. And also leave me a comment below and let me know if you had to pick just one stock to invest in for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Anyway, thank you so much for doing that. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, my friends, now for those of you who are unfamiliar with WM, it is the largest waste management company, I believe, in the world. And at this point in time, they service over 21 million customers across the United States and Canada. Now, within the business, there are a few ways they generate revenue, with 55% of that coming from the collection of waste, 10% coming from the transfer of waste, another 21% coming from their landfills, of which they have 250 locations across the US and Canada. 5% of their revenue is coming from recycling, and then another 9% is listed here as other sources of revenue. In addition to the work they do in the management of waste, WM is known for also putting on the famous WM Phoenix Open, an annual PGA golf tournament that is notorious for two reasons. Number one, it was at this tournament that Tiger Woods hit his iconic hole-in-one in 1997. Unbelievable. Number two, the WM Open, from what I hear, is a pretty wild party. Anyway, getting into this company's share price performance. As you guys can see, in the last year, WM is up 26.5%, which is an unbelievable gain. In the last 6 months, they are actually down about 2%, and then in the last 30 days, guys, they have dropped even more. They are down almost 10% in the last 30 days. Now, although they're down 10% or so in the last month, WM, in my opinion, still has some room to come down. And if we go over to the valuation page right here, we can take a look at that. I mean, Seeking Alpha gives them an overall valuation grade of a D-, which is really not that great. But taking a look at the three big metrics, the PE ratio, the price to book, and the price to cash flow. Starting with the PE ratio, guys, they have a forward PE of 26.64, which is 41.5% higher than the sector median PE ratio, and it's also just above the company's 5-year average PE ratio. And then scrolling down, taking a look at the price to book, which is 8.38. This is also over 200% higher than the sector median price to book. That is out of this world. And then it's also about 26% higher than the company's 5-year average price to book. And then taking a look at the price to cash flow, which is not terrible, 15.51, but this is 5% higher than the sector median and 12.5% higher than the 5-year average price to cash flow for WM. So as you guys see with all of that, this company is more expensive than other companies within the sector by a long shot, and it's also more expensive than this company based on the 5-year averages. Now with this, guys, although the valuation isn't great, the dividend's not too bad. And if we scroll up, go and take a look at the dividend, we can see that they have a forward dividend yield of 1.6%, which is on the lower end, but the payout ratio is looking pretty solid, sitting at 47.42%, and then a 5-year growth rate, which is decent, 7% exactly. And WM also has a pretty nice dividend growth history of 18 consecutive years. And I'll tell you guys what, they are still keeping this dividend streak growing into the future. A couple months ago, they announced a pretty nice raise on the dividend, along with a pretty sweet share buyback program. And on that note, guys, we're going to take a look at this clip right here with Waste Management CEO Jim Fish talking about this more in detail. So take a look.
You know, we look a lot at free cash flow, and our dividend is based on a percentage of that. And we try and be in that 40 to 45% payout range for cash. When we looked at it, we said our baseline has moved up. I mean, this business is generating a lot of cash, so hence the 30 cents per share increase, 13% in percentage terms. And at the same time, we've authorized, the board authorized $1.5 billion worth of share repurchase, and we're investing in these plants, the renewable natural gas and recycle plants, to the tune of an incremental $550 million. So the business has thrown off a ton of cash, and we're giving a lot of it back to shareholders.
So a 13% raise on the dividend and $1.5 billion going towards buying back shares seems like a pretty sweet deal for shareholders. But with that, guys, there is one thing that concerns me a little bit about WM, and that is this company's debt. I mean, as you can see right here, WM's net debt is sitting at $13.3 billion as of a couple months ago, and the chart shows a pretty consistent increase in debt over time, which is not great. And while what Jim Fish said a moment ago is true, WM is flush with cash with a 5-year average free cash flow of $1.54 billion. It would still take them over 8.5 years to pay off all that debt if they allocated 100% of this average free cash flow to doing so. That is a long, long time. Now, overall, as a company, WM does seem to be in a league of their own just as far as waste management goes or waste disposal. But I've got to say, I don't see myself investing in this company anytime soon. I think there are better deals out there and better opportunities that offer more in terms of valuation, financials, and dividend stats. I mean, comparing WM to another stock within this sector, Snap-on, which is the most recent addition to my own dividend stock portfolio, Snap-on is currently sitting in a PE ratio nearly 30% lower than the sector median. It has a much more manageable debt load than WM, and I would say that Snap-on's dividend has more to offer shareholders as well, with both a higher starting dividend yield and a 5-year growth CAGR. That's just my take though, gang, and with that, I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on this company in the comments below. And now moving on, we are going to be getting into the Q&A segment of this video with our very first question coming from Fabian in the Discord, who wants to know, is crypto something I should invest in, like probably Bitcoin and Ethereum? And Fabian, I've got to say that is a great question, one that I don't 100% know the answer to. I can tell you that I personally am not invested in any sort of cryptocurrencies at this time. I don't have any Bitcoin. I don't have any Ethereum. I haven't messed with NFTs on any level. Not that I'm necessarily opposed to them. I just don't know enough about them to want to invest in them. But I will say, if you feel like you need to diversify yourself outside of stocks and maybe into another type of asset, cryptocurrency might not be a bad way to go, nor would real estate, nor would investing in like gold or silver. So there's definitely some options as to other asset types, and cryptocurrency is not a bad one. I just know for me, it's not something that I personally have any interest in investing in right now. Great question though, and thank you so much for asking. Now moving on to the second question. This one comes from Maddie Boy, who is one of the newer members to the Discord group. Maddie, welcome aboard, my friend. He says, I just started a M1 portfolio, small account, just about 3,000 in it, but what does everyone feel about the number of holdings starting out? I'm in this for the long term, but currently have about 20 holdings. Do you think that's too much and should go smaller, or does it really not matter in the long run? So what Maddie is saying, guys, is he just made this portfolio on M1 Finance that he's invested $3,000 into, and with that $3,000, he is diversified across 20 different stocks. He wants to know, is this too many stocks to hold, or should I like have less positions since I'm just starting out? What do you think I should do? And I think it's tough to say. If it was me, if you would have come to me and said, I have $3,000 to invest, I want to put it in stocks, what should I buy? I probably would have pointed you in the direction of ETFs, something like any of the Vanguard ETFs, like a VTI or a VU or a VYM, which is a good dividend paying ETF, or like an SCHD, which is another great dividend paying ETF. I probably would have pointed you in the direction of something like that, that is considerably more diverse than these 20 different holdings. But since you are now in these 20 holdings, what I would do is I would make an attempt to learn as much as you can about each of the stocks that you've bought. And I remember him sharing these holdings in the Discord, and they were companies like Procter & Gamble or like an Apple or Microsoft. They were big blue chip companies, most of them were, from what I remember. So you're investing in, for the most part, in some pretty solid companies, but I would still make an attempt to learn as much as you can about them. And by doing so, I think you'll find that some of the picks that you have are ones that you would actually like to hold for the long term. They're good companies, and I think you'll probably have at least a couple or at least a few that are like, maybe I shouldn't have bought those. They don't seem like the best picks. And just so you know too, this is pretty much how I first started out when I got into dividend investing. I was very gung-ho, jumped the gun and bought 15, 20 different holdings. And a lot of them were based on what I saw here on YouTube, just what people seem to have in their portfolio. And a lot of them I still have today, like a Starbucks or a Coca-Cola or Procter & Gamble. And some others I do not, and that's okay. That's just all part of the process. It's all part of the journey. And I think everyone starting out has a different way of approaching it. So, and with that said, guys, that pretty much wraps it up up for today's video. Great questions, had a lot of fun talking about waste management. And before you guys click on to the next video, if you enjoyed watching this one, please don't forget to leave a like, leave a thumbs up. It would mean the world to me if you would do so. And also, if you would like to join the Discord, the ones where we pulled these questions from, the link to do so is in the description of this video. For those of you who are not familiar with Discord, essentially, guys, what we have here is a big community of dividend investors. We are up to over 400 dividend investors in the Discord. And what we're doing is we are sharing our portfolios. We are asking questions and trying to learn from each other. And we are also sharing our analyses and thoughts on different dividend stocks. It's just a very positive, welcoming community, and everyone in there is very supportive and wants to help other dividend investors learn the ropes. And so, you know, I couldn't be more happy about how this Discord is growing and how the community is coming together in there. So if you want to be a part of that, the link to join is in the description. Just click it. It'll take you right into the group. It's super easy. And with that said, I will now get out of your guys' hair, but thank you once again so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.